Good morning and welcome to ABC26 News This Week. I'm Ed Daniels. Well, the Hornets were on a roll when they first got to the Crescent City. Now, at least on the court, there seems to be a dip in their dunk. We'll get to the on-court performance in a little bit, but first let's welcome Alex Martins, Senior Vice President of Marketing for the New Orleans Hornets, a man who led the drive here to get the tickets sold to get the Hornets to New Orleans, a man who got buzzing a year ago. Alex, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Ed.
What do you make of the first half season of the Hornets in New Orleans? Are you guys happy with what you've seen and the response you've gotten from the fans?
We're very happy with what we've seen. We're very happy with the response. I think as people have gotten an opportunity to sample the product, they've seen that it's much different than the last time the NBA came to New Orleans. It's much more of an entertainment product. Fortunately, through the early stretch, we had a great run at home on the court. We were 11-0 before we lost a home game. But overall, we're very pleased with the response of the fans, how they're enjoying the experience, and the fact that they've come out in big numbers to see the games.
One of the questions I've asked myself for many, many years is New Orleans a basketball town? I guess I've been asking that since the Jazz left 23 years ago. Is New Orleans a basketball town?
Oh, I believe so. I've been involved in a couple of expansion situations in the past, and in those situations it typically has taken a couple of years for the fans to really get to know the game, to really know when to cheer, when to stand, and when to really applaud a great play. From the outset, I think the fans have really been cognizant of the game. They understand the nuances. They're very educated fans when it comes to the game of basketball.
One of the things that we all check at, and I know you do too well, this is a numbers business, a numbers game, and we have the attendance off the official NBA attendance as of the games of Wednesday night, January 15th, and I know the Lakers were in here on Wednesday night. New Orleans at 18th in the league, Washington 1. Of course, they have a guy by the name of Jordan, then Detroit, who's winning as well, and then the Dallas Mavericks, who have been a great turnaround story. 18 out of 29. Are you happy with that at 15,506 fans a game?
At this point in the season, we're very pleased. We are the smallest market in the league, and we need to take that into consideration. But the main factor to take into consideration here is that based on the size of the New Orleans arena, we cannot be any higher than 13th because we are the 13th largest building in the league. So we're very pleased with where we're at this point in the season. We've had some great momentum over the last few weeks. We've sold out 2 of the last 5 home games, and 2 of the other within the 5 were very close to being sold out. And we have a couple of games coming up in the month of January that will be sellouts. So we're very pleased with where we're at this point in the season.
And one of the things that was not on those numbers as well is the fact that you're playing at 90% capacity of attendance. You have to be happy with that.
We're very pleased with that, and I think when you look at the capacity numbers as compared to the rest of the league, you'll find that we're much higher than 18th, and if we can maintain and increase that capacity average over the course of the season, we'd be very pleased.
Of course, winning cures a lot of ills. The Dallas Mavericks couldn't get people into their building for free 10 years ago. Now they've got a great core of players. I know even though last night's or Wednesday night's loss to the Lakers was a disappointing one, you have to feel that that you have a good core of players. You don't have Shaquille O'Neal, but you have a good core of players that can win a lot of games, right?
We have a very talented group of players, a group that at the beginning of the season many believed could contend for the Eastern Conference Championship. Many still believe that. Unfortunately, we've had our star player in Baron Davis go down with injury for I guess it's been about a total of 8 games now during the course of the season. He was back as of the Lakers game. Hopefully his back will be strong for the rest of the year, and we'll be able to get back to those winning ways that we saw in the early months of the season.
People see a contract like the one that Baron Davis got, $84 million, and you wonder, we were talking about this off camera just before we went on here about the situation in hockey with basically Buffalo and Ottawa being bankrupt. Is there a breaking point where a city like New Orleans really can't afford to shell out that kind of money for a player like Baron Davis?
Well, there are economics to every business, and I think that every one of the teams in our league and every other league have to balance their revenues versus what their expenses are, just like any other business, and we have to maintain that fine line as we go through the history of this franchise. There is room to be able to be competitive, even in the smallest market in the league, and attract the best players in the league. But you also have to be creative. You have to have the opportunity to bring on corporate sponsors, have significant television and radio rights agreements, as well as fill your building on a regular basis in order to maintain a competitive balance within the league.
One of the things the Saints did this week was announce that they were either holding still on some of their season ticket prices, or there were actually going to be a decrease in season ticket prices, including 6 months interest-free. We're maybe starting to get like the automobile industry here, aren't we?
Well, again, as in every business, you have to deal with supply and demand. And you have to be fluid, and you have to address the needs of the market that you're in and the market conditions that you're in. We have to remember that, you know, the economic situation nationwide has not been the best over the last 18 months or so. And so as a business, as a form of entertainment, we need to respond to that. And I think that's exactly what the Saints have done.
So many people who have asked me about the Hornets long term say, okay, I know the first couple of years there's going to be an infatuation with NBA basketball coming back and the product. What about after year 2 or year 3, when you have to get those club holders to re-up, the suite holders, the expensive tickets that frankly make this thing go? Are you concerned at all about that?
I'm not concerned about it because it's our responsibility to maintain the value of that ticket over time. And we work on that on a daily basis. We want to make sure that the experience for our fans in the arena is worth the value of the ticket that they're paying. We work and talk about that every single day. So it's our responsibility to maintain the value, to maintain the high level of the experience, and also to maintain a competitive team on the basketball floor.
And I know one of the things, harkening back to many, many years ago when I was a kid, the reason I got hooked on the NFL is because I could go to a Saints game for $1.50 for a season ticket for a kid. And one of the things you've been able to do is make the building at least affordable in some areas for children who are your fans of the next generation, right?
We've tried to address the way that we've scaled the building in terms of pricing for the market that we're playing in. So we have a very high-low situation in terms of our lowest price ticket and our highest price ticket. And we have over 1,500 seats now that are at $10 or less, so that we can address some of the children and some of the lower income bracketed individuals within the market. But we also have a nice mix of $30, $40, $50, and up to $250 tickets to address the people who do have the disposable income and do want to experience the game at its highest levels.
I don't know if you've heard this from the fans, but fans ask me all the time, why not more weekend games? It seems like an inordinate amount of Wednesday night games and not enough Saturday, Sunday games. I know the Miami Heat came here earlier in the year, and I was looking at the schedule to find some Saturday games, and I was like, wow, we better get to that one.
That was it. That was our only Saturday game of the year. Sometimes it's the way that the schedule falls. And this year, the league has been doing a little bit of tinkering with the way that they allocate the games because of the new television rights agreements. There's an exclusive Thursday night television package on national TV now. So that has affected the way that the schedule is balanced out. Available dates, trying to maintain Saints home weekend dates so that we don't have conflicting dates also went into the equation. As we look at this past year and we look forward to next season, we will look to try and instill a lot more Saturday evening games with the league, as well as trying to maintain a balance of weekday dates as well.
Quickly, in the few seconds we have remaining, I know people want to know your opinion on this, and I know the Saints get asked the same question. Is this town big enough? You know the economics. That's your job. You've had to study it. Is this town big enough for the Saints and the Hornets to both be here 10 years from now?
The answer is yes. We can both survive. I think we have to be smart about the way that we do our business. We have to competitively market. We have to aggressively market. But this market can support 2 professional sports teams. I'm convinced of it. Alex
Martins, Senior Vice President of Marketing. It's great to have you in our city.
Thank you, Ed.
Did a great job getting NBA basketball here. Let's hope it's here for a long, long time.
Thank you very much.
Alex Martins, thank you very much as well. We'll be back with more of ABC 26 News this week. Up next, talent gets rewarded in the Crescent City. We've got the best of the beat. Welcome back to ABC 26 News this week. The Louisiana version of the Grammys are headed to New Orleans. Offbeat Publications and Hibernia Bank are joining forces to bring you the Best of the Beat Awards. The awards not only showcase talented New Orleans musicians, but the people behind the scenes too. Nearly 4,000 members of the Louisiana music industry are expected to get involved this year. Jan Ramsey, publisher and editor-in-chief of Offbeat magazine, here to tell us all about it. And right away, Jan, number one, welcome. Number two, let's talk about the night, and we have a graphic that we'll put up on the screen to tell everybody about where they can be on Friday night, February 7th. That's the place, right?
That's the place. It's at Twiropa Mills, which is at 1544 Chapatula Street, and anybody who hasn't been to Twiropa yet is going to really enjoy going there. It's a great venue. We have about 20 bands, 25 restaurants. The doors open at 6 o'clock. Actually, the awards start at 7:30. Excuse me, 7 o'clock. I'm going to be right about that because the awards are very well coordinated. So they start at 7 and go to about 8:30, and then there's music before the awards and music after the awards, and it'll probably go until about 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the morning, which is just heating up in New Orleans.
Yeah, exactly right. And the ticket price is only $15. It's a great deal.
$15. Tremendous.
Right.
Now, some of the previous award winners here in your party have been Mystical, Aaron Neville, Dr. John, the whole litany of New Orleans artists.
Yeah,
right?
well, what we try to do, and what Offbeat does, is try to cover all the whole spectrum of New Orleans music and Louisiana music, because we cover Zydeco and Cajun music too, and jazz, of course, the different kinds of jazz, traditional jazz and contemporary jazz. So we have achievement awards in all of those categories, and we do best female vocalist, best male vocalist, best instrumentalist of all different kinds, and we have lifetime achievement award winner too.
Right. Somebody who maybe doesn't follow the music scene as closely as you, who is an up-and-coming artist that you would say right now that you could point to and say they'll be on the national scene soon?
Boy, that's a hard one. Well, there are a lot of young bands that I think could qualify. There's a guy named Benji Davis who's up and coming. He's actually not from New Orleans, though. He's from Baton Rouge. There's a band called the Red Stick Ramblers, which is, they're kind of taking Cajun music to another level. Mm-hmm. Sean Ardoin, Zydeco music, a lot of the jazz artists. John Cleary is definitely up and coming. I mean, he's sold a lot of CDs, been around for a while, but he's now kind of hitting the national scene. So a lot of different kinds of music and a lot of potential, I think.
Some of the bands that really don't get any national attention, but this is an incredible band town. I know in the break here we were talking about the Top Cats, the Bucktown All-Stars. If you're having some kind of function and you want a good band for a reasonable price, I guess this is the place, right?
Well, it really is. And one thing that New Orleans has, everybody talks about the music industry here, and one thing that we have that's very strong in the music industry is live music. And there are probably more fantastic musicians in New Orleans per capita than anywhere else in the world. And I guess that's one reason why I'm in this business, but yeah, it's really true. Anything from cover bands to Zydeco, that's why conventions like to come here, because they really like the music and the food, of course.
And we were talking about the Top Cats coming up on their 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary.
Can you make a living playing music in New Orleans?
You sure can. You sure can. I heard somebody say it the other night. The mayor's office is sponsoring a workshop every Monday night, and somebody said you can either want to be a rock star or a working musician. Hmm. And if you're a working musician, you can make a living in this town, but you have to approach it like a business person does, because you're an entrepreneur. It's not necessarily a lifestyle, even though it kind of turns out to be. It's a business.
And you have to be willing to work how many nights a week, Jan, would you say, to make it go?
That
4 or 5?
Depends on how much money you want to make, I guess, and depends on how many.
But you could work 5 nights a week and make a pretty good living, right?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I even know street musicians who have sent 4 kids to college. Street musicians, people who play in the streets of New Orleans, and that's a very important part of our music economy too.
Right. One of the things that I've asked you about, and frankly that you are not optimistic about, is the Grammy Awards Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame being here in New Orleans. I know there's been a tremendous amount of discussion about it over the last couple of years, but you're not optimistic.
Well, I'm really not, and it's unfortunate because I think it would have been a great thing for the city. I think that there was sort of a regime change in the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the NARAS people in Los Angeles, and I think that sort of hurt our chances to get the Grammy Hall of Fame. But frankly, I don't know if there's going to be a Grammy Hall of Fame anywhere at this point. But I don't
Lack
think
of
it's gonna
funding,
happen here.
lack of what?
It's probably, and this is just my opinion, it's probably being risk averse on the part of the board of NARAS. You know, they're not sure that they should take this step right now. I think it's a big financial commitment for them. It's also a big financial commitment on the part of the city and the state because they wanted it here. Maybe they just don't think that the time is right for it.
All right. One more time, your awards are coming up on February 7th, and if we could ask to get that full screen up one more time, $15 for tickets, 944-4300 for the Best of the Beat Awards and Concert, and for $15 you get the music and the food?
Music and the food. The food's from 6 to 9. And you can also buy tickets on our website, which is offbeat.com. Sell tickets there, too. And also, right now, I don't know when this is going to air, but you can vote until January the 24th.
Okay.
January 24th is the cutoff date for the voting.
For your favorite performer.
For your favorite
Online
performer.
And the website,
online on the website, offbeat.com.
Offbeat.com. Jan Ramsey, the publisher and editor of Offbeat magazine. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you.
And you know so much about music. You just
I
sit here with me
try.
for a few minutes and maybe even make me look semi-intelligent.
I'll try.
Jan, thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
On the 7th especially. We'll be back. Time for a break. Up next, getting the most out of your medical benefits. Welcome back. There are thousands of people in Louisiana on Medicare, Medicaid, and other health assistance. A lot of those people don't know what massive resources are at their fingertips. The Senior Health Insurance Information Program, or SHIP, is giving the average Joe a chance to learn exactly what their rights are. Vicki Dufresne is the coordinator for SHIP, and she's here with us on the program. Welcome.
Thank you.
You've got a big seminar coming up now, right? And anyone can walk in. It's free. And you can learn as much as you want about Medicare and Medicaid and how it relates to you, correct?
Correct.
And that is on Thursday.
Thursday, January 30th, Malta Square at 3222 Canal Street.
Okay, and
11:30.
At 11:30, and I know we're going to put that address up on the screen if we can. And it's such an important meeting because there it is, 11:30 on Thursday, because people have a myriad of questions, and frankly, I think you'd have to have a PhD in this not to be at least a little bit confused, right?
Oh, correct. You need to attend it so that if you're not 65 or on Medicare due to disability, when you reach that age, you will know what to do, or at least if you have elderly parents or grandparents or whatever, you can help them weed their way through the system because it is very, very confusing.
Now, one of the things I'm going to do here right now is I'm going to hold up this booklet right here. And if you guys can get a shot of this, and you can tell me exactly what this is all about, Vicki. You've put out a guide here. Long-term care insurance is a booming business in this country.
Yes.
Why?
Because we're in the baby boom generation. Everyone's living longer, and your parents don't want to be dependent. I know my parents don't want to be dependent on me. I don't want to be dependent on my child when I get older. So everyone's looking into the long-term care aspect of it, and how can I take care of myself and still be independent when I reach that age or that senility sets in and I can't actually stay by myself. So the agency, the Senior Health Department at the Department of Insurance put together the long-term care book. It's got insurance companies listed in there. It's got ratings, premiums, tips. Now, in no way are we at the department endorsing a particular agent or
This is an
company.
information package.
Very informal. It's just a how-to guide and points that you need to look at and things you need to consider.
Okay, I'm watching this program. I need this. How do I get it?
You call the department at 1-800-259-5301, option 2, and ask one of our counselors that answers the phone to send it to you. You can get it off the website, www.ldi.gov. You can download it through there. It's also available. I will have it at the presentation, and you can get it at the Councils on Aging.
I'm not ashamed to say that, frankly, I bought long-term care insurance for my mother a long time ago. I considered it a good investment because, frankly, not many people in our state or anywhere else can fork out $40,000 or $50,000 cash a year to help cover what could be a catastrophic medical expense.
Well, when we were putting this together, I'm only 36, so I was like, I need long-term care because I have a 15-year-old, and I know he's going to put me in a nursing home when I get older.
I'm sure us as parents, we can all share your concerns about that. I think sometimes kids all drive us a little bit crazy, although we certainly do love them. Now, some of the questions I have for people who know so much about this Medicare and Medicaid business, which frankly I'm a novice at, prescription drug benefit. That's something that's going to be kind of a ping-pong ball in Congress between the Republicans and the Democrats. How do you think that's going to shake out?
That's a real touchy subject now. I know seniors need it, and I push it wholeheartedly. They seem to say, though, that come June or July, we should have something in place where they're going to get a little card in the mail, and they can take it to a pharmacy and get their prescriptions at that pharmacy for a discount rate. It may work, it may not. We always tell them, contact the drug manufacturers, ask the doctors for samples.
And apparently there will be a ceiling, though, on how much you can spend a year. Once you hit that ceiling, that's it, right?
Right, and they're going to have some out-of-pocket expense with it, and then they're going to have caps on it. So it's not going to be the absolute solution to the problem. It's going to be a Band-Aid for now.
For a lot of the people who live on fixed incomes in our area, I saw an editorial in the Times-Picayune recently where a lady wrote in and said her cost of living increase, this is just her writing into the paper this year, is 1.4%. That's not really much of an increase, is it?
No, because you figure they got a cost of living increase, but Medicare also went up on them. Their drugs all go up on them. If they have supplemental insurance through Medicare carrier, that's all gone up. Everything goes up except a nice substantial raise for them.
Recently here, the winter conference of the American Medical Association met here in New Orleans, and one of the things that the AMA said, the money paid to doctors will decrease 20% in the last 4 years. And the doctors aren't getting their money, so now perhaps they're not going to treat patients. That's a crisis, isn't it?
A lot of the doctors are pulling out. I read an article in the Baton Rouge paper where some doctors are going before the legislature when they go in session to address the situation.
So people call you and say, hey, what do I do? My doctor won't treat me anymore.
You have to find a new one.
Just have to move on, huh?
Move on. That's just the same thing with the Medicare HMOs. Everyone jumped into them because their doctor was in there. Well, their doctor may stay in, may not. So it's a catch-22 right there.
I know we could do a 30-minute show on this question alone, but is the system fixable?
It is, but it's just going to take a lot of time. Maybe by the time I get into it, it'll be a little bit better.
Well, I'm older than you. That's not very encouraging.
No, it's not a good system right now, but it's what we have to live with.
Right. You had spoken earlier about that phone number to get this guide, or if you have any questions, and we have that phone number now. We're going to put it up. There it is again. Now, if you want to come to the seminar, 11:30 at 3222 Canal on Thursday, January 30th. For you sports fans, that's the Thursday after the Super Bowl. And 1-800-259-5301 for more information, right?
Correct.
Vicki, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us. And good luck solving this problem.
Well, thanks.
Appreciate it. And we'll be back with more. But first, let's revisit some of the stories that made this week in our ABC26 News Week in Review.
This video, shot shortly after the crash, shows the rig on fire and no sign of the air logistics helicopter. Witnesses say the chopper crashed into a generator building on the offshore platform and fell off the rig into Breton Sound. The crash left a football field-sized oil sheen on the water. Rig workers and Good Samaritan boaters rescued 3 of the passengers. They found a 4th dead on the rig.
Police got the call shortly after 2 this afternoon. They got a tip that a possible suspect was hiding under a house on 1st Street. They brought out the canine dogs, but no luck. Officers later learned all of the people involved in the shootout made it to area hospitals. A 23-year-old at Baptist and a 17 and 20-year-old at Charity. The 20-year-old later died in surgery. Police believe all 3 victims live here in the B.W. Cooper housing development, better known as the Calliope. Witnesses to the shooting say the courtyard here was filled with people, especially children, when the shooting began.
Next month, the Grammy Awards take place in New York. It is there that Louisiana Music Commissioner Bernie Cyrus hopes to find answers to some real questions about whether the Grammy Hall of Fame will ever be built in New Orleans.
We've got all the money on the table, the political will, the leadership in Louisiana, the governor's office, everybody's been phenomenal putting this project together. And on quirky instances, it could be in some jeopardy.
Well, those were a few stories that made this week the week it was. I'm Ed Daniels. For more news, tune in tonight at 5 and 10. Thanks for watching ABC 26 News this week.